want to thank everybody who's been with me, my Xbox clan.
When COVID going back to play Madison Square Garden, and he's like, hey, hook me up with dinner with Heath Ledger.
Like Russell Westbrook, that was a great feat the other day. I couldn't even tweet it out.
It's Coach Frank Vogel here, full of enthusiasm and positive energy.
Ask me what I like to play with Kevin Durant. Ask me about Kyrie Irving, Giannis. Ask me about Embiid, Ben Simmons. Go ahead, all of them.
There was a time when the Israelites were wandering in the desert and all of a sudden bread came down from heaven. That's kind of what today feels like to have KCP join.
Welcome back to Bulls vs. Blazers. You can find us, as always, on Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere else that you can find podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review. Check us out on Patreon also. $3 a month gets you an extra episode every week. This is a free episode, but we're going to have another episode next week that's for Patreon subscribers only. You can go to patreon.com/BullsVBlazers to subscribe.
That's
right.
right.
Also check us out on Twitter and Instagram at BullsVBlazers. I am Sean Highkin. With me, as always, Erik Gundersen.
Yo.
What's up?
Dude, buzzing right now off of this hilarious end to the Nets game. The Nets, I think C squad, we can definitely say at this point, not their B squad, beat the Milwaukee Bucks today. They did not play Giannis in the second half. They were managing his load, if you will. Middleton also did not play in the second half. So this is, a situation where they clearly were not going hard for the W, but nonetheless, they came in as 18.5-point favorites in this game.
You know what this means, though, Erik?
Giannis is going to go to everybody's favorite team.
It just means that the Bucks are frauds, man. I mean,
yeah,
they can't even beat the Nets in a regular season. This just proves that they should have re-signed Malcolm Brogdon, and that means that Giannis should leave.
Well, okay, no. Here, I will say, okay, this has nothing to do with this game. I've been talking about this for a while, and I do think that it's like, I mean, I want the Bucks to do well, but I do have major LeBron's first tour of duty in Miami or in Cleveland vibes with this team because they're so good. But Budenholzer, like, obviously, like, there's doubts about him in the postseason.
These Bucks teams are so much better than any team LeBron. Like, Chris Middleton is so much better than any player that LeBron ever played with in Cleveland the first time.
Yeah, but LeBron had he had a 60-win season there. Like, it wasn't like those teams were bad. They just didn't have great offenses. I get your point, but like, and these Bucks do have way better players around Giannis. You're totally right about that. But like, some of like the Bucks internet, like being like, well, if we just play DJ Wilson, more with Giannis, we'll win. And I'm getting very. This is the one thing I will say, and I saved this for the podcast because I didn't want to tweet it out.
We only give you the good content on the podcast because you got to listen.
I'm getting very big. The Cavs won't trade JJ Hickson vibes from the like DJ Wilson truthers out there that are like, if they just play DJ Wilson, all the problems that the Bucks have will be solved. And he's nice. He made some great plays in this game in the second half when the Bucks really made a comeback. But I mean, it's a little bit of an exaggeration that he's going to be, he was 3 for 11 today.
I guess you are seeing more of these DJ Wilson truthers than I am. I didn't even know such a thing existed. You might follow more Bucks Twitter people than I do.
Yeah, I might get a little too deep in the woods there sometimes in the online, but I do see a lot of like DJ Wilson could be like the key, and it's like very much like, man, if that's what they're counting on, like, and not Giannis stepping up, and obviously Giannis is great, and like, but like, they lost to the Rockets the other night, and that was a tough game. But the Rockets are good. I mean, I don't think Milwaukee should be ashamed of losing that game to the Rockets.
They also beat the Celtics, who are good.
Yes, exactly. I agree with that. I mean, they are still a great team.
I just hate the conversation around Giannis and Bucks, that every single time they lose any game, it's just, well, I don't know. Can they win the championship? They did lose this regular season game. I don't know who's to say. Like, who's to say they can win a championship? They also.
It's terrible. It is bad that it goes into every time. Well, like, they're on the clock for Giannis. Like, they're on the clock. Like, it just keeps on being.
Here's what I think. Like, I think that people were so wrong about the decision in 2010
Uh-huh.
that now people are trying to show how in favor they are of player empowerment by actively trying to push every star to go leave for a bigger market.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gone the complete other way on like the horseshoe, if you will.
Yeah.
Like it's just gone the other way, and it's like it's become a huge extreme 100%. I mean, I do think that it's okay to talk about your legitimate like concerns about the Bucks. Like I think that that's totally a legit conversation, but to turn every time that you talk about it into, well, he could leave. Like, one thing the Bucks have done way better than those Cavs teams is build the team around Giannis's strengths on both ends. Like, they have fully maximized what they can do with the math and also with the guys that they've brought in. But I mean, I still think that there are legitimate questions when they are going to get into a 7-game series and teams can lock in on them. And hey, I mean, Brooklyn has obviously brought their C team today, but you know, you also saw that like they were motivated today to show against the best team in the league that, hey, like just because we're a bunch of guys that basically weren't in the league before this doesn't mean we suck. And like, you could see that today, like they played their hearts out. And like, I want to give a lot of credit to the Nets. Like that was cool.
Speaking of which, we got to pour one out for Jamal Crawford. This might be it for him.
I hope not. Yeah, I hope
I
hope he gets some treatment on it and that he's okay. But yeah, he hurt his hamstring in the first half. He made a 3, made a pull-up jumper, had an assist, and he still looked like Jamal Crawford out there, but then he hurt his hammy, which sucks. But I will say Dante Hall, one of their G League signings, one of the guys that they've brought in to fill in the entire collection of guys that they've had to replace, was awesome. Like, he came off the bench. He got into a fight with Giannis in the first half where Giannis like said like, I will fuck you up. And then the ref got in Giannis's face and Giannis looked back at the ref and he goes, he was like, I will fuck him up. Like the ref tried to like calm him down and like Giannis is like, but really, like I'm gonna fuck him up. Like you know me is what he said. Like it was pretty classic. Like I loved the Dante Hall stuff. That was great. I love watching him. I didn't even know that I liked watching him until this game because I didn't watch any of the Nets' first 2 games because why would I? This one was on early and they were playing the Bucks and it was fun. I mean, credit to the Nets, man. That's what I think should be a bigger takeaway. Like, let's talk about how fun the Nets were in this game.
Yeah, some of these teams that are just kind of there with nothing to lose. Like the Nets, not only are they going to be the 8th seed at best, and they know that like they're going to get destroyed by the Bucks in the first round, but like it's all guys, like you said. Like Dante Hall, I really did not know much about before today, but he's, he played well. And so, I mean, it's all guys because obviously Durant's out, Kyrie's out, Spencer Dinwiddie's out, like DeAndre Jordan, like all of their guys.
Taurean Prince, literally everybody, Wilson Chandler, literally they have the most guys that have tested positive and then could not play or opted out medically. Like everybody on the team opted out.
Everybody on this team that you've heard of is not playing.
Basically, except for Karis LeVert.
Yeah. And so they're just like running out basically a G League squad. So I don't know. It's kind of fun. Like, I guess for teams like the Nets, where like they know they're not really going to do anything once the playoffs start, this is just kind of a player development setting for them, which actually you would think, okay, is it really worth it doing, player development in this bubble? But, there is a reason that the 8 teams that didn't get invited to the bubble want to do their own bubble because they want to actually get some of these younger guys reps and actually try to develop some guys. And so the Nets are kind of getting the best of both worlds where they get invited to the big bubble and get to, keep their TV money, but then they also actually get to kind of look at some of these young guys without any expectations that they're going to actually do anything.
Yeah, no, they're completely playing free. I mean, Chris Chiozza has been balling in the bubble, and obviously they beat the Wizards the other day in that battle for basically to knock the Wizards out of the playoffs. And now the Wizards are basically done, even though they're not technically on the NBA standings page. They don't have an O next to them, but they're definitely out now. They're 8 games back of Brooklyn with 5 games to go. So it's over for them. But Yeah, and the Nets, hey, I mean, credit to them, and some of these guys are really fun, and they're getting a big opportunity with a lot of eyeballs on them, and obviously, it sucks that Jamal got hurt. Yeah, and the guy who hit a big shot in the fourth quarter is Garrett Temple, who doesn't really get probably to take that many big shots over the course of his NBA career. You had Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot with 26 in this game. It was just a bunch of guys, and they beat the best team in the league. So it was really fun. And I think this bubble is also showing like how unpredictable these games can be. I mean, the Suns beating the Mavericks the other night, and they're playing the Clippers, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them go 3-0. You had the Spurs start off 2-0 and then almost go 3-0, losing by 1 to the Sixers last night. Like, the teams that are in the bottom half of the bubble are they've been really fun to watch.
And even the race at the bottom of the West, we kind of went into this whole thing assuming that the 3 teams that are going to be in the mix are Memphis, New Orleans, and Portland. And we just kind of assumed that everybody else was just kind of there for the TV money and basically to have an even number of teams there so that they could get Zion in. But, Phoenix and San Antonio have looked really good so far. I think Sacramento, unfortunately, we can write off. They just haven't looked good. And, Marvin Bagley's out. But
you do have an opportunity today. They're playing right now against Dallas. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, they're winning right now in the third quarter. So, I mean, this is kind of a do or die game for Sacramento, really, this one against the Mavericks. So, I mean, we'll see if they can pull that one out. And if they do, they're alive. And if they don't, I think they're pretty much done.
We're burying the lead here, though, Erik.
What?
The Lakers clinched the 1 seed in the Western Conference, which nobody thought they could do. Everybody doubted them. Nobody even thought they would make the playoffs. Everybody, it's the Washed King. The Washed King brought the Lakers to the playoffs. Nobody ever thought they could do that.
Yeah. So as an accused operative of Clutch Sports, since I run the LeBron Wire, I feel like I'm obligated to at least put some context to what LeBron is saying. Like, nobody put them out of the playoffs. Like, let's be clear. Like, just on pure respect for LeBron and AD, like, everyone had them at least in the top 4. But I will say that like the Lakers fans have been sharing it, and I mean, like, listen, it's not the best example, but it was Windhorst and Jackie McMullen and Rachel Nichols on The Jump talking about how are the Lakers going to defend? Who else? How are they going to learn how to play with Anthony Davis and LeBron James? They're 2 guys that you really have to work around, and like there was some doubt that they would be this good in the regular season. Like, I think they were the favorites in Vegas, but we all know that the Lakers fans ought to artificially bring down the line all the time because they believe in their team and they bet money on them. So that when we talk about them being the favorites for the championship, like, we also have to keep that in mind. But like, they were like 40-1 when like Kobe was bad and old. Like, like they always get a little bit of added respect in the books. But I think the experts were being like, the Clippers are clearly better. Denver is clearly better. Like, I do think that there was kind of this doubt that they could be this good of a regular season team.
Nobody thought they could do it. Nobody thought they could even like make the playoffs, according to LeBron.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's exaggerating, and he's definitely doing some Michael Jordan shit. And listen, we all watched The Last Dance. LeBron definitely watched it. Like, and LeBron is making some things personal that aren't necessarily personal.
like I just feel like, Brian Windhorst and Rachel Nichols saying, hey, they might not be great defensively when outside of LeBron and AD, their personnel is not great defensively.
People were doubting. I mean, LeBron did it to himself. Like, people said like LeBron stopped playing defense like when he left Miami. Like, that was like a common take. Like, that was one of the biggest complaints Cavs fans had about him, and it was true.
I just don't think that amounts to like some huge disrespect that LeBron is like, oh, I don't know. Nobody said it's very shades of like Steph Curry saying shout out to all the system players in the WNBA.
Yes, it is very much so. It is definitely much like taking something small and blowing it up and making it just a bigger indictment on his legacy than it actually is. But that's why these guys are also like incredible competitors. Like Steph does it, LeBron does it, Kobe did it, Michael Jordan did it. Like no one was throwing the Lakers in the trash, but there was a lot of like, well, you know, they had a lot of 3-point shooting. Now they don't have any ball handlers. And it's like, there was a lot of that from smart people. Like, I'm not going to pretend like this, that they were just like totally like everyone expected this for them to be this good, for LeBron to play point guard the way he has. Like I will give him a little bit of credit that like this team being as good as they have been in the regular season was a bit of a surprise.
I'm just so happy that the Lakers finally got back to the playoffs, because as Kyle Kuzma pointed out, the real fans remember all those losing seasons, all those like 5-year period in the franchise's history that they weren't good.
Yeah.
So this is for the Lakers fans, man. They've earned this.
Oh my God. I will say the fucking screenshots, man. Cry me a river, guys. Like, you have had the greatest collection of players in NBA history. And it's like, whoa, we had, what was this? Ryan Kelly starting. Like,
okay, that's some franchise's entire history.
Yeah, like imagine being a fucking Timberwolves fan, the team that replaced the team that you stole and moved to LA. Like imagine being a Timberwolves fan. You had the Lakers, the greatest franchise in sports, maybe, and then they got ripped from you, and then you got them replaced by the fucking Timberwolves,
who had like one of the 20 greatest players of all time, who got to the conference finals once and then left and immediately won a championship with the Celtics.
Yeah. That's just think about being Minnesota for a second, Laker fan,
or Phoenix, or I don't know, Charlotte, or Orlando, or
I mean Phoenix at least has had a history of being good. Like until like the post Nash era was really their first time being like actually like really, really bad. Like the Suns are a nice franchise. Like I'm not gonna be, you know, they don't have any championships, but
or the Cavs in any years that LeBron James wasn't on the team. Facts.
Although, and then the other times you were good, but then you got sunned by Michael Jordan.
Right. Like, wow, I'm just, I don't know, man. The like, man, the long-suffering Lakers fans, they had to deal with like 2 years of like Ryan Kelly and Robert Sacre. That's just like, they're so tortured.
Yeah, and they had to deal with literally the one season ever that LeBron has gotten injured in. Yeah. You know, it's not like it's, and then they got Anthony Davis for their struggles, you know,
basically just because LeBron wanted to live in LA. Like, he didn't go there because he was like, wow, I really believe in the team that Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss are building. I really believe in the vision. He went there because he thought it would be cool to go to LA. And that's just like something that other franchises don't have. So I'm just really not here for like, I mean, it's kind of SME for Lakers fans, honestly.
It's their time to feel like they didn't get the right amount of, you know, like this is the one thing that they can say. I gotta say, like, this is like, no one did expect them to be the number one seed, but like if they win the championship, they can't be like, well, no one expected us to do well in the playoffs, because everyone was like, okay, yeah, I mean, they're gonna go to the conference finals at the very least. Like, nobody was being like,
we've been talking about the Clippers Lakers conference finals like it's a certainty since July.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're not. Everyone assumed they were going to make the playoffs, but no one assumed they were going to be a great regular season team. But everyone thought they were going to play the Clippers in the conference finals and have a great shot to win the championship. Like, because if you're in the Final Four, that's just what it is. Like, and so,
and you're the team that has LeBron, so like,
yeah, and Anthony Davis. And speaking of which, Anthony Davis, 40 points last night, made Rudy Gobert, his son, like, absolutely destroyed him, and as part of the clincher. And like, I mean, he's clearly like, I've seen a lot of people talk about Dwayne Wade 2011, and Dwayne Wade 2011 was great. I just watched that finals during this break that we had. He's not better than Anthony Davis is for LeBron James. Like, it's like the most perfect pairing that you could have ever imagined. Like, I'm sorry, like, it doesn't get any better than what LeBron has had with Anthony Davis, in my opinion.
People do forget that Anthony Davis was a bucket.
Yeah.
They do forget that.
People do forget that he's good at moving without the ball, and he's really great at dunking the ball. It's like, I remember writing before the season why I thought LeBron would have the most assists in the NBA. And my main point of the thesis was Anthony Davis dunks a lot. And I remember my copy editor deleted it at first. And I was like, why'd you delete that? She's like, did you mean to say dunks? I was like, yes, I meant to say dunks. And I was like, yes,
Anthony Davis does dunk a lot. That's
it's very simple, like it sounds dumb on its face, but then you look at it, it's like, wow, he dunks a lot.
Yeah. And so now LeBron is basically going from JaVale McGee to Anthony Davis as a lob partner.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, no disrespect to JaVale. He's been pretty good for the Lakers, but, he's not Anthony Davis.
Right. No, he's not. And so I just think that it's just so easy for LeBron to poach assists because all he has, it's like an 80% or 90% shot almost every time he's giving it to Anthony Davis. I ran through it before the restart started, and Davis accounted for 27% of LeBron's assists this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess this is probably where we should transition into, every week we do the vibe check. We should probably just kind of do the vibe check, which, Lakers vibes are great. They made the playoffs, which nobody thought they would, and they made up for their long suffering season. They're just a long suffering franchise history. So shout out to Kyle Kuzma and LeBron for getting them there. So the Lakers vibes are great. Clippers vibes are still pretty good.
Clippers vibes have improved, I would say. They got over their very close loss to the Lakers by blowing the doors off of the Pelicans. I mean, that was just an absolute beatdown. And then I feel like they've been moving the ball better. I feel like their offense looks more fun. That it's not just kind of stand around, and maybe that was because they were playing New Orleans, and New Orleans didn't look very good in that game, and it looked like they kind of gave up. But I think Clippers vibes have stabilized. Obviously, thoughts to Montrezl Harrell, who lost his grandmother.
Yeah,
and
terrible.
So it's super shitty. And obviously, prayers to him and thoughts with him.
They should be getting Lou back soon.
He's playing right now.
Oh, is he? I don't have the game on.
Yeah. Lou is back. He's officially back.
Has he talked to media yet?
I think he will after the game.
Oh my God, that's gonna be
that's gonna have some legendary quotes for sure. But Lou cleared quarantine last night, I believe it was, or early this morning, and so that he was able to finally get out of his hotel room in the quarantine section of the Disney campus. So Lou will back after serving the great chicken wing suspension of 2020.
Honestly, they should overnight him some Magic City wings just so he isn't tempted to do that again.
I mean, this is the most publicity the Magic City. I mean, obviously the Magic City Kitchen has gotten a ton of exposure on every food blog. There's been a zillion videos written made about the wings at Magic City. But I mean, the crossover appeal of this Lou Williams story has got to have led to massive brand awareness. So if nothing else, maybe they owe him some free wings.
I'll bet he probably doesn't pay for wings when he goes there. I feel like if you have a menu item named after you, you shouldn't have to pay to eat at that place.
That's a good point. I bet he doesn't. We already talked about this on the preview pod, but we saw that he tips very well. So good for Lou Will. I think it helps I think it helps the vibe.
Yeah. Shout out to all the sex workers out there who are not paid or treated well enough, and so shout out to Lou Will for doing his part.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see. As we go to the Western Conference, Denver, honestly,
not good
at all. I will say they did have an impressive win the other day, but they're still against the Thunder, and the Thunder didn't have Dennis Schroeder, he left the bubble because his wife is having a baby.
So congrats to Dennis Schroeder.
Good vibes for the Thunder that Dennis Schroeder is having a baby. And but then Michael Porter with the anti-vax stuff, not good. He did have a big game. He took that personally, all the memes, it seems.
Yeah, I'm not ready to call I have a friend in a Slack that I'm in who's is a Nuggets fan, and he said, like, there's still room on the Michael Porter train, and we're just like, no, we're not getting on a train that's led by an anti-vaxxer. Like, I'm sorry, that's not happening.
No, we don't need to do that.
I mean, Bol's been good, so, like, those vibes are still good, but...
Yeah, Bol's actually, he got real rotation minutes yesterday in that win, so I'm glad that they're really giving him actual run that matters and not just playing him in garbage time. Obviously, they have a lot of injuries. Will Barton has a sore knee.
Jamal Murray.
Yeah, Murray's also dealing with some kind of lower body issue. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it is. And then, they had to start Monty Morris. I mean, luckily, they still have Millsap in there, and then Jokic is still Jokic. He still looks really good out there. But yeah, they win in OT yesterday because Chris Paul missed a free throw. Really, I mean, that's really, I think, the biggest difference in the game is that CP had 2 shots to put OKC ahead and missed the front end of the 2. So that gave Denver a chance to win the game, but then they eventually won it in OT.
Yeah, I still think the Denver vibes are not great. They're still basically playing 4-on-4. They're playing the Fireball 4.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it was not a great sign that they had to run their last play in regulation to try and win the game for Troy Daniels.
Yeah.
Like that was the play. I mean, luckily they got to play real basketball in the overtime, and they played really well to not have it come down to another final possession game, which is what it was in the overtime in the fourth quarter. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 14 in the fourth. He was phenomenal to get them back. But I mean, I don't like that their crunch time play is Troy Daniels. Like, that can't make anybody feel good.
No. So who's next?
Houston, great vibes right now.
Pretty good vibes.
Yeah. They've overcome the coronavirus. I mean, they have their whole team basically. And they had the 2 best wins so far, I think, of any team in the bubble. I mean, they beat other than Toronto, I think it's really been Houston and Toronto have had the best starts, with Houston beating Dallas in that overtime game and then beating the Bucks on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that Nene was getting some minutes, so, I didn't realize Nene was, like, still alive, so good for him. Yeah,
good for Nene. They play the Blazers tonight in a huge game, what is a huge game for Portland. And, if Houston, if they want to stay ahead and stay in the top 4, they want to take care of that game as well, because they can gain some ground and move a game ahead of Utah. And Utah's vibes are fucked.
Awful. We have said all the whole time we don't respect the Jazz, and the Jazz have given us no reason to respect them. So
it's awful. Like, way too much Jordan Clarkson. They miss Bogdanović so much, and I mean, I was honestly impressed that they only lost by 8 last night. Like, I thought the Lakers were going to destroy them by like 25 points, and to their credit, they stepped up because, it was a big game, national TV against the Lakers. But, I mean, nothing about the performance makes me think anything better about them overall.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
Mike Conley looked okay. He's been looking a little bit alive lately, so I guess that's okay, but not good.
It's bad. I guess Conley being a little bit, but like Joe Ingles is like not even shooting. He's got that terrible ally jersey on the back.
Yeah,
of his jersey.
that's terrible. You can't, if you're white, just put Black Lives Matter. Like, nobody's gonna get mad at, like, that's the safe one. You have to just be like, look, I'm a white guy, I'm putting Black Lives Matter as the center. Like, I'm putting that front and center.
Ally is might be the worst jersey of the restart.
It's also because you don't get to declare yourself an ally. That's like something that
other
of
people,
the oppressed communities, get to say whether you are or not. You don't get to say, hey, I'm an ally, and then put that on your jersey. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah. The ally Joe Ingles jersey, a Utah Jazz jersey, is the worst jersey of the restart. I'm not going to even say one of the. I think it is the worst.
I don't know. I think the Gordon Hayward education reform is pretty high.
I don't know, man. I feel like Ingles is his worst. I just think I mean, education reform, yes, is bad, but like calling yourself an ally when you're white is like not the move.
I guess we know that Gordon Hayward is MAGA, so it's a little bit harder to get mad at like him for just having the least Black Lives Matter focused version of the jersey. Whereas like I feel like Joe Ingles actually means well, but it still just fell so flat.
Yeah, it's just not a great call. Like, I don't know who he talked to about that.
Just put Black Lives Matter. It's not that hard, and nobody's going to get mad at you for it. Like, Alex Caruso did it, Zach Collins did it, Tyler Hero, Kyle Korver, Matt Thomas on the Raptors. Like, that's the safe option. Like, if you're white, just put Black Lives Matter, then you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's so easy not to mess up.
Yeah, I know. And so, that's also killing Utah's vibes on top of the fact that they're playing like shit. OKC, I mean, they blew the doors off of Utah in the first game, and then they blow one really against Denver. I still think that they're a really good team. Like I do too. Yeah, I'm not worried about them.
I'm sticking with my Oklahoma City in the conference finals take.
Listen, not a bad take.
I'm sticking with it. I still think they're going to be really good. And I mean, they almost beat Denver yesterday because Chris Paul missed a free throw. That's not like an indictment of their team. That's just like an unlucky shot. And Chris Paul is one of the best clutch free throw shooters in the league. Like, that's not.
I'm not worried about that getting in his head. Like, so he's fucking Chris Paul. Like, he's fine. Like, also,
Billy Donovan won co-coach of the year from the Coaches Association, so I'd say the vibes are good there.
Yes, definitely good there on Billy D. I'm glad Billy D got recognition. Obviously, I was a little confused as to why. I mean, Nick Nurse came up one vote shy in this in making it a 3-way tie.
Well, keep in mind, this isn't the Coach of the Year award that people actually talk about. This is the version of it that is voted on by the coaches. There's still the one that is just kind of generally thought of as Coach of the Year. That's the one that media votes on. And I'd be shocked if Nick Nurse doesn't win that one.
Yeah, he has to. I mean, it's just not even a discussion. Dallas,
not great.
Not great. I mean, they haven't played very well. They lost to Phoenix. Their defense hasn't been very good at all, obviously. Through these first couple of games, they're in a dogfight right now with Sacramento in the fourth quarter. So I don't really like where they're going. I mean, they don't have any defense. Like, that's really a big problem for them. And, they just have some holes. And, Luka's been putting up numbers, but, hasn't been able to make it. He had some bad plays late in that Phoenix game, particularly.
I just don't understand what's going on with Dallas's offense. This has been a thing for them all year. Like, overall, they have like one of the best offenses in NBA history, just like in terms of the metrics. But then when it comes down to crunch time, it's like, remember that Minnesota Timberwolves that one year when they still had like Kevin Love, when Rick Adelman was still their coach, when they were like the worst clutch shooting team in history and they lost like a record number of close games. That just feels like that's what's been Dallas in the bubble. Like, I understand the Houston one because Houston's good, but you can't lose to Phoenix if you're a guaranteed playoff team already.
Right. And also, I mean, that Houston game, like Seth Curry misses a free throw that he's not normally going to miss. He didn't play in this game against Sacramento. So, that's something to keep in mind, but it's not a bad place to be to have Steph Curry, because obviously Seth Curry, Blazers went to the conference finals and he was a big part of that. But it does seem like they're struggling defensively, and, they really have Luka and Porzingis. And if you can take those two guys away, it's like, who else is going to beat you? And it's,
Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. has had a fine year, but I'll take my chances.
Yeah. So that's 7. Memphis vibes they're still 8th, but that's terrible. They're 0-3.
0-3. Yeah. I mean, and then they blow a winnable game last night. And their schedule is brutal as hell. The rest of the way. So
they might not be 8th or 9th by the time this whole thing is over, because like Portland, New Orleans got that win over them last night. So now New Orleans is we'll talk about them in a second, but they're kind of back in it. But then like Phoenix, San Antonio, Portland are all teams that I feel better about than Memphis right now.
Yeah. I mean, Memphis doesn't look very good. I don't like their rotations. I know that he's a veteran, but like the insistence on playing Anthony Tolliver for Taylor Jenkins is just mind-blowing to me. It makes me think he's like a stealth tanking weapon. And because they're just leaking points when he's out there. And like
losing Tyus hurt them for sure.
Losing Tyus definitely hurt. I did not know that he was this important to that team, really. They don't, because when the defense is zeroing in on Ja, they don't have another guy that can really get them a really true quality shot, or get a quality shot for somebody else. Like Dylan Brooks can get his own look, but like he looks for Dylan Brooks. Like he's not out there creating for other people really. And, Jaren Jackson Jr. is great, but he's a big, and like, as we've said, like guards have been really the determining factor in who wins and who loses in these games for the most part. And so, it's bad. I mean, Ja's having a tough stretch too. I mean, that can't be overstated either. I mean, he's shooting very poorly right now. And like,
you know what? It's fine though. Like, they're a team where actually nobody thought they would make the playoffs. So
nobody thought they were picked. I thought they were going to be the worst team in the West.
I could have understood that because they hired a first time head coach. They was an all young team. Obviously their jaw is incredible. And so they've had a better year than people expected, but I still feel really good about them in the future. Like they're fine. This is just kind of, we're kind of seeing now that like a team like Portland is more ready for this than they are, or New Orleans, who, even though they're still a pretty young team, like they still have like JJ Redick and Drew Holiday and guys who have been here before. None of the Memphis guys have. So like they're fine. They're like a year away still.
Yeah. I mean, they are kind of in the position that, in 2014 when Phoenix like was like almost, they just had like this year where they just overachieved. And, I think that's where Memphis has been most of the year, is that they've just really overachieved. And also, probably hurts that they're not at home. We all know that the Grindhouse is a great place to play. And that probably hurts not having that. Portland's vibes, okay.
Up
they're
and down.
Up and down. I mean, they had an awful first half against Boston, an amazing second half, but they, Lillard had a shot to potentially had a potential look to win the game and passed it off. And he said after the game that he overthought it a little bit.
I did not understand what he was doing there. I mean, he had a 3-point look. He dumps it into Nurkic when they're down by 3.
And and they don't have any timeouts.
No timeouts. I mean, obviously, I think Boston was happy to let Nurk get it quick too, because they just knew that the Blazers weren't going to have enough time to do that. So that just was like, I think Dame kind of outsmarted himself on that one.
Yeah, I think he did. And it's like, if you're Boston, like the last thing you want is Dame shooting a 3. Like that's like the number one thing you don't want to happen in that situation. And I think Dame just outsmarted himself, and that sucks because they had that game. They had a lead in the fourth quarter, and the way that they were playing, they really should have had that game. I mean, but they also set themselves up under a massive deficit. That like that's what happens, is that you have to play perfect basically the rest of the way to win, and they made a couple small mistakes.
And, I mean, they have a pretty tough schedule going forward, too. They've got Houston tonight. They've got the Clippers, the Sixers, the Dallas, Denver. They've got some tough teams coming up. So it's just when you have a chance to win when you played that badly in the beginning of the game, like they did against Boston, like you can't blow that. You have to get that. Yeah,
exactly. And so, they get another chance tonight. Going to be a really interesting contrast in styles once again in this game. You're going to have Portland going big, and you're going to have the super small Rockets out there for the most part. And, you're going to have guys really work hard on the defensive end. Zach Collins is going to have to do a better job guarding against, PJ Tucker and Mbah Moute than he did against Gordon Hayward. I mean, those guys are not as great of offensive players as Hayward is. And then, you're going to have, Carmelo is going to have to step up. And then also Dame and CJ are going to have to step on the defensive end, because the Rockets make everybody on your team play individual defense.
So that's Portland. So
San Antonio.
Orleans. Yeah, San Antonio, pretty good vibes. Like they just kind of like they're one of those teams that kind of came in with not any real expectations, but I've liked what I've seen from them so far. It's unrecognizable from most Spurs teams, because now they don't have LaMarcus Aldridge, so it's basically all these young guys, but they look good.
Yeah, I think they've looked great. They really just emphasize guards. They just have their guards. They have like 4 guards out there all the time, and like DeRozan's playing power forward, and they're just fun to watch. And they have a lot of guys that you've probably never heard of getting a lot of minutes, like Drew Eubanks, and they're just. It's the Spurs though. It's so classic. Like it's just like no matter who's on the team, they're always going to come and play their game plan, and they almost had a victory against Philadelphia yesterday. And Philadelphia hasn't been great, but like the fact that they almost beat them considering the talent disparity in that matchup is pretty remarkable.
And Greg Popovich has also spent all of his media availabilities talking about reparations, so that's tight.
That's, very good vibes on that. New Orleans?
Improving.
Still bad.
Still not great, but...
The Zion, like, the Zion, like, lobbying for playing time in the media, like...
He got up to 25 minutes last night, though.
No, that's great, but like he shouldn't have to do this. You know what I mean? Like Zion is like having to go, being like, I wish they would just do this. I wish they would let me play, blah blah blah. And it's like, I mean, man, it doesn't seem like obvious. Like, there's just some tension there that doesn't seem normal.
Yeah, and I mean, it just makes me wonder. Like, once we get past whatever happens with Giannis with his free agency. Are we going to immediately go to Zion and have this be the next guy that people talk about as, I don't know, the clock is ticking. I don't know.
I mean,
there's tension about his playing time in the bubble. I don't know. Who's to say?
Yeah. I mean, don't put it past us. I mean, don't put it past the media, man. Like, it could probably happen. Let's see. We got Phoenix.
Excellent vibes. They're playing the Clippers pretty tight right now.
Yeah, and they have great vibes. I mean, I was about their vibes before the game started. I picked them in my I have an over-under pool where I picked 10 over-unders. They were one of my locks to be the over because I just believed that they were going to be able to play well in this situation. And I liked that they had their whole team together for the most part, especially their young guys, and that they have a great coach.
This is the first like semi-meaningful games that Devin Booker has played in his NBA career. And so far he's stepping up, which I mean, he has been kind of thought of throughout his whole career as kind of an empty stats guy because he puts up these great numbers, but Phoenix has never been good during his career. But these are actual meaningful games and he's playing well. So, good for Devin Booker. Hopefully he can kind of shake that reputation.
And praise for fucking Ricky Rubio, man. I love Ricky Rubio.
Maybe the most underrated player in the league.
I mean, he's right there, man. Like, I feel like him and CJ McCollum are like, right there in terms of how underrated they are. I mean, Rubio is just such a boss. He does. I think CJ gets a little bit more attention than Rubio does. He does because he scores, and that's always what's going to get the most attention. But Rubio, is he's not just like just a nothing when it comes to scoring these days, and he's improved his shooting, and he's just a winning player. Like, that guy just helps you win games. Like, I love Ricky Rubio, and he's him kind of almost in like that secondary point guard role that like that Rondo played a couple years ago for New Orleans when he was with Drew Holiday. I feel like he's playing that role with, because Booker does a lot of the offensive stuff, like running pick and roll and whatnot, but having Rubio there as like a supervisor is like, it's I love it. You know who could use Ricky Rubio right now? Utah. Oh yeah. I think talk about outsmarting yourself. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't think anybody thought that Mike Conley was just going to immediately become washed as soon as he got traded there. No, but you had something going there, and like in a league that, especially, and in a market where it's both Utah the market, and then also the fact that continuity is so hard to come by now, and like you had this guy that didn't really need a lot of shots, could work with your two best players, and he could make big plays. I mean, he just won he was the MVP of the FIBA World Cup. And so like he has shown he's just a winning player, and and he's younger than Conley, and they just kind of gave up. And I feel like obviously they were chasing, what Conley's done in his career, and maybe Conley makes us look bad, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like that's a moment where they outsmarted themselves. Yeah. I mean, just another reason to not respect the Jazz. Right. You hate to see it. Yeah. You hate to see it. East. Milwaukee.
Oh, we didn't do Sacramento. They're fine.
We didn't. Bad. Yeah, terrible. I mean, they're playing a team that also has fucked vibes right now.
Yeah.
And so even if they win this game, like, you know, like I said, this was a game that they absolutely need basically to stay alive in the bubble. And so, yeah, I don't feel bad about not spending a ton of time on Sacramento.
Yeah. So yeah, bad vibes. So the East, we talked about the Bucks. I think the Bucks are fine. I'm not really worried about them losing these regular season games. Like, who cares? They're fine.
Yeah. We're good. We said our piece earlier. We were talking about the Bucks at the top. So
I'm just saying though, like, if they don't win their next regular season game, that definitely means Giannis is going to leave.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's how it works. So, you know, especially when he doesn't play in the second half, like,
yeah,
that's the other aspect of it. That's just hilarious. But, Toronto's vibes,
I don't think there's better vibes in the bubble than Toronto.
Absolutely not. And also this thing now with this Coaches Association coaching award, not including Nick Nurse, like giving them just another chip on their shoulder of the nobody respects us stuff. Like, they're the defending champions. Everyone wrote them off to start before the season for the most part. I mean, you and I believed that they were going to be still one of the best teams in the East just because they have been before Kawhi and, you know, before they even got Kawhi. But this is like, I mean, they are incredible. They destroyed the Lakers for the second time this season. And then they had a great win against Miami. Van Vliet also is going to get majorly paid this summer.
The vibes are so good that even Terence Davis cutting a hole in his mask and spreading COVID truther stuff can't kill the vibes.
No.
Like, that's how good their vibes are.
Yeah, their vibes are incredible, even though they're carrying one of the most vocal COVID truthers in the Orlando bubble. Boston,
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, they played a great game against Milwaukee.
Despite Jason Tatum shooting 2 for 18, by the way.
Right. And it was kind of funny because, like, they kind of flipped roles. Like, Marcus Smart was like a god offensively in that Bucks game, and then he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn against the Blazers. And then Tatum just went crazy in the first half, just making pull-up 3 after pull-up 3. And then in the fourth quarter, Jaylen Brown, I mean, if you have two guys that are that size that can get you those shots and make those shots, I mean, obviously they need Kemba to get back, but even if Kemba's not 100%, that team's still going to be a major issue if those guys are playing like that.
Kemba's actually looked pretty good when he's been out there. It's just his minutes are still limited.
Yes. And I think that probably is honestly going to be a thing throughout the bubble. Yeah. Like, if it didn't get that much better with 4 months of treatment and rest, then I just don't see how it's going to get that much better between now and the end of the Celtics run. Like, I think we might see more of like than we expected to see Brad Wanamaker closing games like we saw against Portland.
I hope Kemba's not just done. Like, we kind of, when a guy is that small and he starts having these issues that limit his explosiveness, like we saw it already with Isaiah Thomas. Like, I hope we're kind of not heading that same way with Kemba. Like, at least Kemba was able to get paid before this happened, unlike Isaiah.
True. Yeah, exactly. It sucks. Yeah, I mean, Isaiah's tweets, man, during these games,
sad.
So sad, dude. Like, I wanted the Nets to sign him, and bring him on to just go like all in on the real hoopers. But like, man,
maybe if Jamal is still out for a while, they can bring him in.
I don't know though. Like, I don't know what the rule is on assigning free agents at this stage of the bubble. Like, I don't know what the rules are on that. So I don't know if that's kind of sealed off at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
hopefully someone signs him next year.
Yes. Miami, I think overall still great vibes.
The Jimmy thing was weird.
The Jimmy thing was weird. I think they're still like, and Andre Iguodala sucks.
I'm not gonna fall for the Iguodala thing. He does this every year. He mails it in the regular season, and then he's awesome in the playoffs. I'm not really worried about him.
All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't like what I've seen. I'm just gonna say that. Like, I think
it's the group economics jersey taking down the vibes.
Maybe it is the group economics jersey. Let's see. Pacers vibes, incredible vibes. Nate McMillan,
fantastic.
Nate McMillan is also maybe should have gotten some love for Koi because
does not get nearly enough respect for the job he's done with the Pacers.
This is incredible. Like first of all, the Suns gave Indiana cash to take TJ Warren. And then
he drops 53 in their opening game.
And TJ Warren has been he's been this good all season long. Like he's been getting buckets like crazy and has been the main guy. And then they make the deal for Brogdon, which was really smart. And that helps them kind of survive this Oladipo stuff. And they don't even have Sabonis in there. And they're 2-0. And obviously they played the Wizards in that second game, but I just have so much respect for Nate McMillan, man. That guy does not get enough credit. And his teams, every time they face adversity, they somehow scrap. As Portland fans, when we were younger, he was the coach, and that was all. That was the hallmark of those teams. Everyone, obviously, we all remember the injuries, but they still made the playoffs and would win 50 games.
Remember that one year that Juwan Howard and Jeff Pendergraph were their two starting centers for most of the year when Greg Oden and Joel Prisbilla went down and they still made the playoffs.
And Jared Bayless was the alpha for a couple of games, and it's
that's what Nate has done every year since he took over from Vogel in Indy, though. They've had they lose all the, they trade Paul George. They basically don't get worse. They lose, Oladipo for basically the whole season. They don't get worse.
They lose Bogdanovich too.
Yeah, they lose him to free agency, and then they didn't have Oladipo basically until January this year, and he was bad when he came back, and they still weren't worse. And, now they lose Sabonis, who was an all-star for the first time this year, even though some people say he was the worst all-star of all time or whatever.
That's just the worst take. It's a terrible take.
Man,
we got dude, they went to OT in Sacramento and Dallas.
Oh, wow.
So,
This
Dallas
could be really bad.
The bad vibes. This is the bad vibes bowl.
Yeah. So, shout out to Indy. Shout out to Nate McMillan. He doesn't get nearly enough props for the job that he does.
And then a guy that is definitely not getting praised like Nate McMillan, Brett Brown, man. I don't know what he can do. I hate this team. They're so talented, and I love their individual players. I love Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is one of my favorite players to watch. And he made an incredible
Horford
pass.
thing is still not working.
No. And Horford, I will say, Horford played better last night, but it was against the Spurs, who have Jakob Poeltl and fucking Drew Eubanks. He's a local guy from Troutdale here in Portland, but no, obviously he's going to look better against those guys.
Yeah. So Shake Milton redeemed himself with that shot again, with a 3-pointer last night to win.
Embiid is so hilarious, man. Did you see that tweet?
Yeah, I did. Where he said it became personal for me.
Yeah, Shake came into the locker room. He said it became personal for me, and he's just like MJ, fucking Embiid, dude.
Well, did you also see the clip of him in the post-game Zoom where he sits down and immediately he's like, what is this shit? This lighting is terrible. My face looks awful. Embiid is so funny. People hate on Embiid and think he's annoying on social media because he tries too hard. He's so funny, and he just he gets the internet better than any NBA star right now.
Yeah, just as a collective though, I don't like this team. I don't Tobias Harris does nothing for me. I'm sorry. He's a great guy. I respect all that he's about. He's a very thoughtful guy. I hate watching him play. I really
just in all instances, or do you just think he doesn't fit on this team?
I just think he doesn't fit on. I just think he's horribly miscast in his role. I just don't think he's that good. The money that they paid him is just insane, and he's the guy that they're counting on to hit big shots a lot. And I just I just don't think that's him. I just think he can shoot. Yes. He is big. Yes. I just don't think they cast him as the third star on this team. And I just I get that he gets along with people and he's a very thoughtful guy and he's a good guy to have in your locker room.
And he's been doing awesome stuff, by the way, with using all of his media availability to talk about Breonna Taylor. So
100%. I like Tobias Harris, the guy, but it just doesn't make any sense for me.
The Roundball Rock guys today, I was listening to the Roundball Rock today, and they basically called him this generation's Antoine Jameson, and that's so accurate.
Oh my God. I'm pissed I didn't think about that, but it's absolutely true. He's just like, he paid way too much money for how good he is. And he just he's not the guy that you want on your team to step up. Like, watching that game and being like, obviously I want Portland to make the playoffs, and like having to like root for, like, it's just so frustrating watching him. And like, I get that he's talented. I mean, he is really talented, but like, I just don't like it. And like him and Horford, like him being those two guys being like the third and fourth guys that they chose, like, couldn't have gone worse in my opinion.
No, it really couldn't. Did you know that Antoine Jameson is in the top 50 in NBA points scored in history?
People forget.
He is the last guy in the 20,000 point club. He has 20,042 points at number 46. The 47th guy is John Stockton with like 19.7.
Wow. Well, yeah. Antoine Jameson works in the Lakers front office now.
I didn't know that. I mean, good for him. I mean, I've always thought he was. I've dealt with him a couple of times. I always thought he was a good guy. I didn't know that he was doing that. So good for him.
I do remember that time that he scored like 100 points over 2 games. Like he had like back-to-back 50-point games.
This is back when he was on the Wizards, right?
Yeah, that was like his peak years. And like, yeah,
you were talking earlier about how the Cavs wouldn't trade J.J. Hickson for Amari Stoudemire, but then they ended up with Antoine Jameson basically as their consolation prize. And then that summer LeBron left and he was stuck there for like 3 more years. Yeah, and it sucked. I mean, he was a pro. I mean, I'll definitely give him that. But like, yeah, Jameson was like, he was the guy. And it's like, again, miscast horribly, a lot like Tobias Harris in what is supposed to be like a team that has championship aspirations. Man, that's perfect. That's a perfect analogy and comparison. Orlando, terrible.
Man, brutal. Jonathan Isaac, man, that knee injury looked terrible.
Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, I know we had kind of been,
we're kind of clowning on his terrible
for being
takes.
MAGA, but you still don't want it.
Especially like,
he's also such a fun player to watch. Like,
yeah, he's really good, and like
is he like the biggest gulf between the coolest player and the guy with like the worst views on stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Dwight is definitely there for me too. Like,
Dwight was never as cool to watch as Jonathan Isaac is.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I mean, Dwight was pretty awesome to watch in his day. But like, yeah, I mean, like definitely all time. He's up there for sure.
But the knee injury sucks. Like, you don't want to see that.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. We hope that he can recover well. Torn ACL. If you did,
timing sucks for him too because he was about to be extension eligible.
Hey, listen, with the way surgery is now, I mean, they might just do that anyway.
But he's probably not going to play next year.
Yeah, I mean, especially because the season, as they're projecting it to, is supposed to start, or next season is supposed to start in like December or something. But yeah, Brooklyn, I mean, incredible vibes. I mean, of course, boosted by their win today. Dante Hall, I loved watching him today. Chioza is fun. Sucks about Jamal Crawford. You hope that he can get healthy enough to play another game, or at least get back for the playoffs, because they're going to be in the playoffs. So, and then the Wizards, I mean, shout out to the Wizards. They'll be home.
They're happy to be there.
They'll be going back to their families very soon. So, congratulations to them on that. I'm sure they're, and I will say that good vibes from John Wall emanating via in the off-season workout world. I have seen some great videos of John Wall working out, so that's cool. That's dope.
I hope he can come back healthy. Like,
John, talk about a fun player.
Yeah, he was one of the most fun guys to watch. And he may have been, before all the injuries, he might have been the fastest guy in the NBA.
Yeah, it was like, and he had the size, and he had and his vision too. Like his amazing vision to find shooters is one of the best. I mean, it might have been the best in transition of anybody in the league. And so, if he can be back healthy, I mean, yeah, and then maybe they re-sign Bertans, they bring back Beal, who is the second leading scorer in the league. Like, the Wizards could be back next year. Like that's one thing I will say. Like, it sucks that they're here getting beat down by everybody, but like, it is like very exciting that they're gonna have that they could have their guys back. I mean, I feel like they're kind of like the East Coast Dame and CJ.
First it was the Lakers, now it might be the Wizards. The long-suffering franchise is finally getting back to the mountaintop.
Of course, yes. Definitely the apt comparison. I mean, nobody knows what Wizards fans go through more than Laker fans.
God. I'm just so happy that LeBron finally got over the hump and made the playoffs.
That tweet that you said from the
people
BVB,
said he couldn't do it.
The tweet that you said for the BVB Twitter account of being like, nobody said LeBron could make the playoffs, and it's like him holding the championship trophies from Cleveland and Miami.
And then I randomly put a picture of like him and Larry Hughes as the fourth picture.
Right. And people took that seriously because everyone was getting their takes off today. Both like, LeBron is, this because he's making shit up, or LeBron is the GOAT because you guys all buried him and you called him the Wash King. I mean, it's really, we've gotten really the worst of both worlds on that end. But
I just want to read some of the mentions from that tweet. Somebody says, who said this? And then there's two replies to that tweet. One person says, they sleep on LeBron, sleeping emoji. I've known he was a problem for years. He's just built different. So
it's like you get the two. I mean, that's Twitter in a nutshell. Like you get the.
First of all, I'm surprised there were no like smoke face emojis in that tweet, but also like he forgot to say that people forget LeBron's a bucket.
Yes, exactly.
And then the next one was, who's they? He's always been good. I just don't know if he's MJ level good. So good point. Great point there.
Thank you.
And then there was one quote tweet that said, there's two quote tweets. One of them was, the dick eating has to stop one day. So for that. And then another one said, nobody said this, which, I mean, that is true. Nobody did say that LeBron couldn't make the playoffs, but LeBron thinks that people said that. So, I mean, I love this. This is so great. If you want more tweets like this, follow the Bulls vs. Blazers Twitter account at Bulls v Blazers.
Mm-hmm. Follow that.
And subscribe to the Patreon.
Yes, definitely subscribe to the Patreon where you can get another podcast this week.
We're up to 13 subscribers now.
See, look at that. You can be you still get to be an early adopter if you join us now. Like,
get in on the ground floor.
Yeah, get in on the ground floor. We'll remember you. Man, it looks like the Mavs are going to pull this out, dude. Like,
good for them.
Yeah, and good for Portland because loss for Sacramento helps them.
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean, so anyway, but yeah, man, this bubble it's been good basketball. Honestly, people have been shooting the ball real well. For the most part, we've obviously had those big scoring games already. And I think tonight's nightcap is going to be definitely have a lot of ammo for that. Like, I mean, you got Dame, CJ, Nurk is averaging 24 points a game in the restart. And then you have James Harden and Russell Westbrook on the other end. Like, this is going to be that game is going to be like first to 200 wins.
Yeah.
So
not a whole lot of defense in that one.
You would not think, but I will say Houston's defense was the reason why they won against the Bucks. Like, I thought, did you see the question that how Harden kind of Euro stepped the question about playing defense against Giannis?
Yeah, he basically said like, people think I'm not a good defender.
Well, yeah, and then someone was like, asked him after the game, like, what did you think about your defense on Giannis and Antetokounmpo? And he's like, next question.
Which, I mean, that's a Russ thing.
It is a Russ thing. Russ rubs off on people, as we know. We saw it last year in Portland when PG was doing the next question stuff in the presser. But I'm excited for this game. I'm not excited for the discourse, though, however, between Westbrook fans and Lillard fans. That might be the worst feud on the internet. Because, like, someone said this the other day, it's like anytime you see someone like trashing Dame, you go to their bio and it's like Russell Westbrook is the greatest player in the world. And then like, Portland fans going way too hard on Westbrook, saying a whole bunch of shit that's not true. Like, I don't miss the Westbrook Lillard discourse. So I will say that I'm not excited about that for tonight's game.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be very much like people tweeting like the gif of the hand wave after the playoffs last year, and then somebody's going to be saying like, oh well, Westbrook has been to the finals. Like, and it's just like it's like the stupidest form of like sports discourse.
Yes, it's really bad. It's like the most tribal, like terrible way to talk about this stuff when both of them are amazing players and can be appreciated at the same time. And that's I also am excited though to get Nurkic out there, because Nurk was not too shy about calling Westbrook Westbrick last year during the playoffs. So I don't
in
think
a series that Nurk wasn't even playing in, by the way.
No, but I think Westbrook definitely remembers that. I'm real excited to watch those two talk trash to each other. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of times where Nurk is going to have to guard Russ on an island. Like that's one of the big challenges that Portland's going to have in this game that they had against Boston too, is like guarding ball handlers in ISO situations with their bigs. Like, can they do that? So, that's going to be a big determinant in whether Portland wins this game or not. And if they do, they're going to be in a good spot, and they'll be down to 1.5 behind Memphis if they win.
Yeah, this is like maybe the biggest game of the bubble so far, just for those 8 seed implications.
Definitely. I mean, there's still a lot more. I mean, every game as we go on here in these seeding games that is involving these teams is going to be huge. Like, I mean, the Kings went hard for this game against Dallas. Looks like they're going to lose this, but they still have 2 chances against New Orleans. And they're probably going to be playing hard in those games because, everyone was guessing that New Orleans was going to be a lock. Everyone saw their over under was set for 5.5, for wins in these 8 games. So I definitely think, they're still going to come out motivated, and, with how close everybody is in that 8 seed race, like it is a tough loss, but they're not necessarily out of it. Even by starting 0-3.
No, and the Phoenix, by the way, is still beating the Clippers, so that's huge for them. They could actually vault over Sacramento, right? Because right now Sacramento is half a game ahead of them in the standings, but they, if they lose and Phoenix wins, Phoenix could get ahead of them, and Phoenix will be 3-0 if they win this.
Which, yeah, and not against. I mean, obviously they played the Wizards, but not an easy schedule. I mean, they beat Dallas. They're playing the Clips, and they've just been flat out good. Like, yeah, Mikal Bridges also has been really good. He took the task of guarding Luka on the defensive end, and I thought really made things hard for Luka. He's a really good defensive player. Cam Johnson, it looks like he's kind of coming into his own as like a role player for them. A lot to be excited.
And they don't
about.
Have Kelly Oubre too.
Yeah, Oubre's out. So yeah, honestly, if you're a Suns fan, like. And they're getting, Aaron Baines didn't play today, but he's back with the team now after recovering from the coronavirus. So, they're going to be getting another guy. So, Phoenix isn't done yet. So I don't know. I don't know who, if any of you had a bet on Phoenix making the 8 seed, but you're probably feeling really good about yourself right now because you probably got insane value at like a plus 1,000 or something.
You're saying this because you got value on Phoenix.
No, I have Phoenix in the over under. I did not bet them I didn't do any bets on Phoenix making the 8 seed. Like I didn't touch that, but I did.
This has been Eric's gambling updates.
Yeah, my gambling update. Their over under was like 2.5. They're gonna make it if they win this game. Like it's already gonna be over. So but I started saying the same thing about New Orleans hitting the under last night. And
wasn't there under like 6?
They're under So they had to get fewer than 6 wins to hit the under because it's 5.5.
So they got to go 5-0 the rest of the way basically in order to hit the over.
Yeah, which I don't think they're going to do.
No, I don't either.
Welcome to Gambling Corner if you've made it this far.
Yeah, the Amazon Prime quarantine is backfiring on anybody who bet the over on that.
Yeah, you played yourself. But yeah, man. I mean, should we stay on till the end of this Dallas game? I feel like.
Well, how much time? I don't have it turned on. Like, how much time is?
4 seconds left. But I mean, I think Dallas is going to win this one.
By the way, speaking of staying on for games, we're going to do an IG live.
Yes.
On Sunday against this, but when the Blazers play the Sixers, we're just gonna be on IG live, just talking, watching the game. If you are interested in doing that, you should come join us. It'll be fun.
Yes,
it's just something we're trying out.
We're just trying it out. We're just we know it. The technology is available for us these days, and so we just want to try it out. And so come join us on IG Live on Sunday, which again, I mean, every game for Portland is huge, just like every team for everybody, in every game for every team fighting for 8 is huge. But obviously, Philadelphia hasn't looked very good so far in these games. So, maybe you'd think that they could steal that one. But yeah, the Mavs closed it out. So
good for them.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, they needed that to kind of give themselves a little bit of hope of moving up. But, because if they had lost this game, they'd probably be locked into the 7th seed for good. So they kind of have a little bit of hope here that they can maneuver and maybe make things interesting with Oklahoma City ahead of them and that cohort of teams.
Yeah. So I think that's probably a good place to leave it for this week, right?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a great place to leave it. I don't have anything else to add except follow the podcast, tell your friends, watch these games if you can. They've been really good. Obviously, a lot of these teams are not going to be with us in a week or two because they're going to be eliminated. So, it's really fun basketball. That's my last parting shot is that this has been good hoop and you should definitely be watching it.
Yeah, this has been basically the best case scenario for how the bubble could have gone. But, subscribe, rate, review, find this anywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google. Please consider subscribing to the Patreon. The Patreon is only $3 a month. You get an extra episode every week. You'll get a paid episode later this week. We think it's good. If you like this, you'll like the Patreon episode because it's basically the same thing, but you get more of it. So, we think you should do that. And if you are subscribed to the Patreon, tell your friends that they should subscribe to the Patreon. We just want to bring as many people in as possible. Because we think what we're doing is good, and we think more people will enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, we do, and we hope that you guys enjoy it. If you have anything that you'd want us to talk about, please let us know.
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bulls v Blazers. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Highkin. Read my stuff on Bleacher Report. Erik, tell everybody where they can check you out.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Blazer Banter, where I'm doing most of my NBA tweets. You can also find me on Instagram at ErikG503, and you can find my stuff at LeBron Wire for Lakers and LeBron James stuff, and then you can go to my newsletter and please subscribe to that as well, blazerbanter.substack.com.
Yeah, you got a podcast on there too. So
I do have a podcast. Yeah.
Go check that out if the Blazers are
going to be doing a pod after this game tonight. So
yeah. So do that. If you're on the Patreon, we'll be back with you later this week with an episode. If you're on the free feed, we'll be back with you guys next week, probably around this time. So thanks for listening.